welcome everyone. Hope everyone is good, hope everyone is well. Yeah, busy day. Will my shoulder ever heal? That is going to be the subject matter of today. Now, the good news, as you can see, the projector is back. Cool. Even that hurts doing that. Yeah, the projector is back, and it's had a new lens, and so I can start creating content again. Although at the moment the biggest issue is not me not having a projector to show stuff on and yeah, all that lot. It's my body, my shoulder. For some reason I heard it about, let's get on for 2 weeks ago now, Wednesday, not last week, week before. And it has just been a right pain in the backside because it just does not want to heal and it's just taking forever. And it means I can't swing because I can't get my left, because my left arm, which is my dominant side, I'm left-handed. So I can't get my left arm across my chest without it hurting. And of course, I don't want to be doing that, swinging and stuff, because I've got a few things to test. Obviously, I've still got that sub 70 iron to review. And I've also got the driver as well, the 11 driver, which sits over there. Actually, it reminds me, I need to go speak to Richard and see if he has got that shaft sorted out yet, because the shaft that's in there at the moment just won't cut the mustard. It's, I mean, again, it won't make any difference necessary to the performance of it. I just won't like the feel of it. It'll feel like a lump on the end of a rubber band. And so, great for increasing swing speed. I mean, I might, again, if it depends on the shoulder. If the shoulder does its thing and heals, I'm getting old. Right, so pop on the chat. I think everything is working. Famous last words. Steve's in the house, evening Jay, evening Steve, hope you're well. So the chat is working, which is great. I'll make it just slightly bigger, there we go. I do want to ask or answer a question. There's a member, Jonathan D, that popped an email to me, and I emailed him back with a response, and then he done a follow-up with a couple more questions. And I'll be honest, when it comes to I get so many emails, it's difficult obviously to reply to 10% of the amount of emails that I get. But members absolutely get top priority when it comes to whoever I'm going to reply to, just with the time that I have. And so Jonathan obviously put his, which I replied to, but he asked another question. So rather than I can't get my fingers typing as quickly as I can speak, and so I said to him on the email reply that if you don't mind, as long as you don't mind, I will do your second part answer to the question in here. So I just have to keep my, yep, got to do that. So Mr. Mumble's back. Hello, back from vacation in Tokyo. Wow, how was it? How was Tokyo? Pete's in the house also. Good evening, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night. Yeah, I know it's good evening, but yeah. Perry says, evening everyone, projector back. Yes, caddied yesterday for Mini Ninja and played 9 holes with her today. I'll get that one up, it's even easier for me to see. Caddying for her again on Wednesday. Great news, she's loving it at the moment, and that's great. It's always nice to see someone enjoying the golf, and especially the juniors, because if we don't get the juniors going, we are in a situation of, well, there is already an issue at most golf clubs with the average age of their members being as high as it is. Niels, hello mate, sorry for being late. I had to finish a job up in the garden. Don't worry mate, in that case I know exactly how you feel when it comes to getting jobs done. So if anyone knows how to fix or get your body to heal a shoulder injury, then by all means, drop me a message. I'll try anything at this point. It's just awkward. It's a weird one because I've, ever since probably 18 years old or so, many moons ago, I can remember being in the car and just coming off a roundabout and just using my right hand to grab hold of the steering wheel. And I moved the steering wheel up like this, and something twinged in my top part of my shoulder, my kind of joint between where your deltoid jumps on to the rest. And then, hello, Kieran's in there. Evening, long day at work, so going for a beer or two. Don't blame me on that one. Great the miniatures being out playing. It is good. It is very, very good. And so yeah, just twinged my right shoulder, and it was a bit of a weird one. I thought it was rotator cuff or something like that. But then it kept on being a bit niggly as I was obviously only young. And so I'd wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm waking up on my right hand side. That's not a good idea. So from that point on, I never slept on my right side. I slept on my left side or slept on my back. I don't sleep on my front, so I slept on one of the two. Now it's got to a point of where I've hurt my left shoulder. And again, it was waking up on, not last Wednesday, Wednesday before's, in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, so Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, maybe 3, don't know. And I was lying on it and it hurt. I went, oh yeah, that hurt, okay. Laid on my back, went to sleep. Woke up next morning, could hardly move it. And it wasn't until the following weekend where I actually got some form of motion and movement back into it. But ever since then, it's just been constantly hurting to a point of where I can, but it hurts. I can feel it. When I'm pushing my shoulder like that, it is hurting. So again, Perry says impingement or rotator cuff, get referred. Yes, unfortunately with how the NHS works, I think I'll be retiring before I get, but yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Mr. Bumble says, Tokyo was amazing, lots of fun, golf stuff like, I never know how to pronounce that, enemy golf items and cooling spray for hot weather. Neil says, good to have you back from the Far East. Yes, and that's a great little picture of Tokyo. Well, not Tokyo, Japan, but then, yeah, it's in there somewhere. Perry says, have had 2 ops each side for impingement, age and arthritis. Oh, crap, don't say that, Perry, please no. It's fine, I've got range of motion within reason. It still hurts a bit, I must admit. But yeah, it's fine. It's just a pain. I've finally got the projector back. It's had a new lens and it has now got lovely focus both sides. It is wondrous and I like it. Tens machine can work. Tens. Oh, that's the electrical or is that the vibrating machine? I thought the tens machine was electric shock. People used to put them on their stomachs, didn't they? And used to be like sort of doing this because the stomachs. Yeah. It's no fun, is it? I don't like the sound of that. But at the moment, I could try most. I just don't want to make it worse. It's just, the shoulder is a messy joint. It is a really, really messy joint. Probably overuse some all the handiwork and power tools. Yes, although I've been very careful with the work that I do above or lifting. I'm fine lifting like this and stuff like that. It's just when I have to raise my arms up like that. I just have to be conscious and careful. So my lifting arm is my left arm, being left-handed. I'm dominant left-handed, so I'm having to lift and then guide with that. But yes, the gym is coming along nicely. I'm just obviously making sure whenever I do something quite sensibly, so not to hurt it, but it just won't go away. The problem is there are so many things to do in life, you can't just not do anything. I am fine. 95% of me is ready to go, raring and keen to get on, but 5% of me unfortunately is being a bit of a pain. But I can't stop. I can't just go, right, I'm not going to do anything for however long it takes to heal, because 95% of me is fine. And this is a bit of a wasted opportunity. So there you go. We'll see. We will see. So let's go quickly. I want to go into a question because for members, and I will be doing it from Stats to Strokes possibly tomorrow, but I want to give you, as members, I want to give you a head start. And is that fair? Oh, I don't know, possibly, possibly not, but then your members, you get things other people don't. You get an insight into what's going on into life. You get my I would say unfiltered, honest response from things. Absolutely you do. Where generally speaking, I'm always honest, but I'm filtered in a lot of things that I say when it comes to absolutely everybody to watch. With age, it's just what happens when you push as far as you could at 25. Yes, I know. If only to be 25 years old again. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I'd like to have the body back of 25. I want to keep my brain. There's obviously things that I would like to have done differently when I was younger, but again, no point in looking back like that. And so yeah, the whole idea. The interesting thing, and Neil's, you'll know on this one most probably, I was going to try and get it on the screen so I could show you guys, but I can't. And the reason I can't is because the template for the lovely little green window that pops up in there saying question, and I obviously edit in Photoshop and then resave it as a new question, that is stored on my Unraid server, which is down by the side of me. But for some reason, evening Adrian, hope you're well, I can't access my Unraid server. I go on, it says all the mapping, network mapping is crossed out, not working. And then when I go onto the URL thingy and try and log by the IP address, it's just not connected. So I don't know whether to turn it off, start again. Niels, we'll chat after this. But I can't, obviously, all that imagery and all that information is stored on Unraid server. And of course I can't get access to it. So at the moment, you're gonna have to put up with me scribbling it down on a piece of paper and then me calling it out to you, reading it out to you. And hopefully by tomorrow I'll have fixed whatever the problem there is with that server so I can get all my media back. Because obviously all the stuff that I've done forever and ever and ever is on that server. Let's pick that up after live. Yes, definitely. I think most people will be bored talking about network attached storage. But on this case, it is rather important because I haven't been able to get access to it to be able to do the lovely little graphics what I wanted to put up on the screen. But as long as I can get all the information up, I will have that ready hopefully by tomorrow to do the reel from stats to strokes. So let's first of all, before we do, give you a little well, a sneak peek of what's going on with this. I'll give you the question for, where is it? Let's get it right. Question, there we go. This is from Jonathan D. There you go. So apologies if it's a bit small, and again it is apologies a bit small because I can hardly see it either, but have I got it open? Oh, I've probably crossed it off, so I'll have to read it from this. So it says, this is the second part. So the first question he asked, it's all about swing speeds and hybrids and woods and stuff like that. So he says, IJ, thanks so much for your email. A couple more questions, please. Is playing a 5 wood and 7 wood with slightly shorter shafts an option, or does that defeat the purpose? I think I own just about every forgiving fairway brand, TSR1, G430 SFT, Stealth 2 HD, plus TSR1 and G430 hybrids. Yes, I am tragic. I realise it is the numpty holding the club and not the clubs themselves. Having said that, to hear you speak so enthusiastically about the ST Max fairways and hybrids, if you thought they are potentially more forgiving longer than the clubs I've listed, I would give them a go. I also clearly recall you said something about the high woods. You would game them except for the fact that they are not adjustable. You are right, they are not adjustable, which is a bit of a pain for me, not necessarily for other people. I'm going to try the Highwood 4 Plus. I think the 3 Plus loft is not right for my swing speed. I think I would agree. Are there any other options I should be looking at? Thank you, cheers, Jonathan. Right, well, so let's just sort of break it down. So the first part, couple more questions please, is playing a 5 wood and 7 wood with slightly shorter shafts. Is that an option or is that defeats the object? So he was saying, what is the benefit of going a hybrid? What's the benefit of going a fairway wood? He was referencing a couple of videos that I'd done in the past. And effectively, what we're going to gain from going from a long iron, let's say from a 4 iron, what we're going to gain from a 4 iron to a hybrid. Hybrid has got a slightly longer shaft, yes it has, but the main thing on the hybrid is it's got roll and bulge on the face, so you've got that face curvature, which allows for gear effect because the center of gravity on a head, on a hybrid head, have we got a hybrid head around here somewhere? I'm pretty certain I've got something which I can, no, that's the driver. This is something. Apologies, I still haven't as yet. What have we got here? There we go, it's a 5 wood. There we go, doesn't matter. So when you go into, hello everyone. Hello every. All right, when you go into a bigger golf club, something like this, the centre of gravity on this one is much further back, much lower and further back than a straight-faced iron. And so obviously with the iron being very thin relative to a fairy wood or hybrid, then the centre of gravity is lower and further back. Now what does that do? For the same loft, what it does is it helps gear the golf ball up in the air. As obviously with the centre of gravity of the head being lower than the centre of gravity of the ball, there's a tendency to want obviously the golf ball to come off higher off the face, same loft for loft that you would do for a long iron. And also, because of the fact that obviously the centre of gravity is lower and further back in a head such as this, and of course this is a fairy wood, and a hybrid won't have quite as much, and long iron won't have hardly anything at all. Most people are more affected than others, but effectively this happens with everybody, including me who's not shaft sensitive, is the fact that you will always produce more loft when it comes to a hybrid loft for loft. So if you have a 22 degree lofted head and a 22 degree lofted long iron and say hybrid and then fairy wood, the fairy wood would produce like for like more loft at impact than the hybrid, and the hybrid would produce more loft than the long iron. Why? Because you've got the centre of gravity of the shaft that goes straight through the axis, yep, and then you've got the centre of gravity of the head offset to that to the shaft. So obviously the centre of gravity on an iron is very close to in line with the shaft. I'm not talking about this way, as in droop. You'll get a certain amount of droop, because obviously centre of gravity of the head is further away from the shaft. So you'll get one chases the other and you'll get droop. I'm talking this way. You get droop in an iron, you get droop in one of these, but you also get loft droop, if you want to call it. You know what I mean? Kick angle, it bends forward. Because the centre of gravity on a head like this, and also a hybrid, not quite as much, wants to chase the shaft, and so there was always a little bit of bending forward. And so like for like, you'll always produce a little bit more, or have a tendency to produce more loft on a bigger headed golf club. And so there is the wins. Now, where is the problems? The problems come mainly from, I've got a chat up on there, guys, so if you do write anything, the problem comes with pushing shaft length when it comes to a fairy wood is distinctly longer than that of a hybrid, and a hybrid is distinctly longer within reason than a long iron. So the longer you make something, the further you are away from the work, the harder it is for you to control your consistency of strike. And this is a generalization. Different people have different results, but that's the generalization. That is always works regardless. The longer you make something, the harder it is to control. Some people control it very, very well, but it is still harder to control. And so there is a point of where you can potentially get a trade-off. You can get that point of where you'll find that someone will gain in clubhead speed, obviously longer shaft, gain in ball speed because of that clubhead speed change, but because of the fact their striking is inconsistent, on average, they don't gain over the hybrid, and they don't gain then over from the hybrid to then the long iron, depending on obviously what stage you are at. And so this is where you know you can either cut the shaft down a fraction, because there will always be the benefit of the bigger head. There'll always be that CG chasing affecting loft, and that will happen even with a slightly shorter shaft. Now I think Jonathan was saying here a slightly shorter shaft in the 5 and 7 wood. I don't think he's going to have plans to cut it down by 4 inches, but I think he may have plans to cut it down by ½ an inch, 3/4 of an inch. I wouldn't probably go any more than that. And if you wanted to keep some form of flex bend profile, cut it from the butt. You're going to have to do some swing weighting if you're going to cut ½ an inch or 3/4 or even an inch. I probably wouldn't do an inch, but 3/4 an inch to ½ an inch, you're going to have to do some swing weighting, because if not, the head's just going to feel really light. And that may not be a bad thing. Obviously, the lighter the head is, the more potential speed you can create, but then there comes a problem with understanding where the mass is, where the head is within 3D space. And sometimes people will lose face control from that. So yes, there's a great potential for doing that. I wouldn't say that taking ½ an inch off is a problem whatsoever. It will potentially give you a little bit more control, and you're still going to gain from the loft flexing that you're from the shaft, that you are going to get over that of a hybrid, and the hybrid would then have that over a long iron, and you kind of get the idea. You can understand why I'm much more happy to explain this in a live stream than I am on a email. It would take me forever. I think I own just about every forgiving fairway brand, and this is the other point I wanted to make. TSR1, G430, SF Tech, Stealth HD, right. The one thing you're going to have to remember, anything, so Perry's just asked, what's the difference in what is the difference in effect by gripping down rather than shortening the shaft? Gripping down, you can, well, you'll counterbalance the head slightly by doing that, which is not necessarily a problem, and you can stiffen it up a little bit by how you grip. I mean, it's a lot easier to oh no, what happened? Oh, it's probably reacting to my subject matter. Shoulder still hurts, Ryan. Yeah, so that's a week and a half now. Get on for 2 weeks, my shoulder is still not happy. So yeah, you can grip down. That is not necessarily a problem whatsoever. Obviously, when you grip down, the grip gets very small. So I just got here, didn't know you were hurt. Yeah, for about a week and a half. So not last Wednesday, the Wednesday before, when on the night I woke up and hurt. I was in 3 o'clock in the morning, wherever it was. I was on the left-hand side and I woke up and thought, my shoulder hurts. Okay, I'll lay my back. And then when I woke up on the Wednesday morning, yeah, couldn't use it. Couldn't hardly move it Wednesday and Thursday. It's only into the weekend that I got some movement back. And it's better from a point of view, I've got movement in it. It hurts a little bit, but I can't swing. No, that's the biggest problem, pain in the arse at the moment, because I've got the projector back, which is brilliant. Just I haven't got use of my body. But then you go. So the other thing I want to say, Jonathan, from the message here, there, is that TSR1, G430 SF Tech, and Stealth 2 HD, they are not the most forgiving fairway models within those brands. So Titleist, Ping, and TaylorMade, they are not. Welcome to middle age, Adrian says. Thanks very much. Feel better. Right, says Ryan. Thank you. Because the problem is, because they are draw biased heads. When you have a draw biased head, because of the center of gravity moved towards the heel to try and get the head rotating a bit faster. So by moving mass into the heel, what potentially you can do is make the toe rotate faster. And if you move mass over towards the toe, obviously there's more inertia and it doesn't want to, kind of get the idea. It's no different to have movable weights on the bottom. And so by also doing that, if you move weight towards the heel, what you get in draw biased heads is the fact that when you hit off the middle of the face, actually gives a little bit of draw bias, because the middle is not in line with center of gravity. And of course you gain a little bit of tilt axis on the golf ball and it will help draw. The problem with that is the fact that if you look at the pure design of it and the specs, actually out of all of them, the draw biased heads can be the least forgiving models of the entire range. So let's take Ping for example. The SF Tech is the least forgiving of all of the heads. So you've got, say in the drivers, you've got the Max 10K, you've got the SF Tech, and you've got the LS Tech. The SF Tech is the least forgiving. It's less forgiving than the LS Tech. This is what people don't understand sometimes. They see it goes to the G430 Max and SF Tech, well, I'm getting all that help, but in draw bias, you are, and don't get me wrong, it's still a very helpful golf club. I mean, obviously, even the LS Tech, you compare that to 10 years ago, is very, very, very good, but it's least forgiving a lot. So you going to a TSR1, G430 LS Tech, and Stealth 2 HD is actually not in any way the most forgiving. It's actually the least forgiving of all of them, because that's the center of gravity placement. So if you were to go to a standard Max, a standard this, standard that, they will be the most forgiving out of the lot. So because on the ST Max fairway and hybrids, they are not necessarily draw biased, they are still relatively neutral. For different people, they will be more forgiving than, say, the SF Tech. definitely. Other people, then again, this is the great thing about testing. You need to physically test it. Because obviously we're talking many things, not just the head, we're talking about the head that works with the shaft, etc. So Neil says, why would a perfect center struck ball on a hybrid, assuming perfect lie, get tilt axis from the center of gravity position? Why would a perfectly centered ball, so impact position on a hybrid, assuming perfect lie, get a tilt axis? Okay, so very, very difficult to get perfect lie on a hybrid, because everything's, generally speaking, jacked up so much for a flight favouring the left hand side. Because generally speaking, if you look at the statistics, if you look at the range of golfers and their ball flight patterns, the overwhelming, and it is overwhelming pattern of all golfers right-handed, let's say, is to fade off to the right-hand side. It is right-handed golfers right-hand side, left-handed golfers left-hand side. So if you look at a lot of equipment such as that, it is draw biased. Now, you're going to get, obviously, depending on where the center of gravity is on the hybrids, generally speaking, again, it's difficult to get perfect lie. But the fact that if you were to, let's just imagine, because I'm trying to do this without sort of boring the pants off of people, just because what you said before regarding the center of gravity affecting draw. Yeah, so if you were to have, let's say on most draw biased heads with the center of mass slightly towards the heel, because you've got the obviously the center of mass of the head, you've got, okay, it's in 3 dimensions vertically and horizontally, and then you've also got a twisting force as well, which possibly we'll go into in a sec. But if you don't have the center of gravity of the ball in line with the center of gravity of the head, what you're going to get is a certain amount of twist. Yeah, so this is where the twist comes in. And so if you have twist, that's where the draw gear effect comes in. So what happens is, as soon as you get, even let's say the middle is obviously there, and you hit in line with it, and this is a non-draw bias head, this is a neutral head, obviously the ball will just hit off there and go relatively straight, depending on how much rotation you've got in the head during impact. That is we'll go into it possibly afterwards. But if you have a center strike, but a slightly heel bias center of gravity, and it's not much, and bear in mind, there's a lot of this going on and all that lot. And depending on obviously where they have the roll and bulge, where they actually have the curvature of the face, at what point you hit on the face, may actually not be exactly where the face you think looks, because of where does that roll and bulge curved anyway. And they're all different for different golf clubs. So what happens is you hit it off of the, say, middle, it's heel bias center of gravity, and of course, because you get a little bit of twist from the head, because you are hitting off of that center of gravity, as the golf ball hits and the face twists, there's a little bit of counter rotation from the head. That counter rotation is in backspin tilt axis, because everything is backspinning all the time, but it's not side spin, it's backspin, but on a tilt axis, and of course, then it will then gear. Now I know why my 4 hybrid off the dog leg left first tee is always in the red waterhouse down the left. I'm trying to avoid it really down the right hand side. Yeah, and so generally speaking, a lot of hybrids are, I mean, no, look at drivers. Drivers are always delivered toe up, always delivered toe up. And if you've got someone who's delivering a driver relatively flat, then the reason is because they're having a very high handle. But there you go. And of course, let's just, and Niels, you can probably do this because you can use one of your screens and stuff like this to do it at the same time. I used to know off the top of my head, but since being out of the game of coaching custom fitting full time, those certain things just that you don't use a lot, just leave your head. Quad measures degrees per second rotation, so rotational speed, closure rate they call it. And generally speaking, it's something that necessarily I'm not a huge fan of going into too much detail with, because of the fact that a lot of people just turn off. Because you've got a closure rate, let's call it 2,500 degrees per second is a common number. Anything between 2 to 2,500 degrees per second. Closure rate, that's what it's measuring. It's measuring the head rotating through impact, yeah? And so of course, 360 would be 1. So if you've got something like 2,500 degrees per second, that's nearly 8, 7.5, or whatever it is, Niels, get your 360 degrees, 2,500 divided by 360, 7 and a bit, whatever, yeah. But that's turning round effectively 7 times a second, much, much faster than I can spin it, yeah? And that's what you're moving that head at 100 miles an hour, let's just say. You're trying to time that head coming in at that path and that face angle while it's rotating at 7 times a second and hit it in the middle. Human beings are wondrous beings. However, impact lasts for 0.004 or whatever, it's 7 RPM is exactly the number, right? Yes, so yeah, 7 revolutions per second. Yeah, is it really on the dot? Yeah. Anyway, so if you think, and then Niels, this is going to be one for you, Google, impact happens in something like 0.0045 of a second or something or other. And depending on obviously what ball you use, because some people have got squidgy 6.94, well done Jay. Some people have use softer golf balls and stuff like that. So without going into too much detail with the compression of the golf ball, a golf ball will remain on the face for approximately 0.0045 of a second. Niels, check that one. Get the old microseconds right. So if you imagine in 2,500 degrees per second, and you've got a certain amount of impact time, which is like 0.0045 or whatever, you divide the two, there is a certain amount of head rotation influence on what that golf ball will do. So this is why commonly you see shots, even when I hit them sometimes, and obviously I've got all the head data there and I can show it. Quad will capture God knows how many frames a second, something like 20,000 frames a second or something or other. And as soon as that ball changes direction or shape, obviously as soon as it makes touch, and obviously the ball's got inertia, doesn't want to move, the back of the golf ball squidges a little bit, obviously getting hit by a golf ball, by a golf club, and it causes change shape. So then any form of motion or change of shape that quad detects, 1 frame back, and we are talking tiny amounts. But within impact alone, there is a certain amount of degrees that potentially this head, all heads, doesn't matter if it's a fairway, wood driver or an iron, will have an effect on start direction, because we are talking about face angle relative to path at the point of first touch, not at the point of maximum deformation, which is the biggest impact of what the head is going to do. That only works obviously for a centered CG hit. If you then start moving away from the center of gravity and then add, let's say, toe, you'll get a certain amount of twist open from the strike. You can feel it when you hit a toe shot, guys. Everyone will feel when they hit a toe shot, they feel the twist. They can feel that, and that does have a massive effect. You can actually see on the delivery data that I give how much the golf balls start outright further than what the roll and bulge shows it to do. And that's through twist. And so it massively has an impact. And then if you add then a heel strike as well, that's how things can move. And so that's why I don't really get involved too much in that, because it's a bit of a boring subject. However, it's physics, and physics has a massive effect on your shots. If you understand the physics, you understand what influence this and that lot makes, then obviously things are a lot easier to determine your patterns and also how to get better. Numbers between 0.00025 and 0.0004. Yep. So is it really 0.0004? Is it 3 noughts? It's not just 2 noughts. Wow. Ooh, clicking buttons. So whatever the say 2,500 degrees, half a degree or whatever, doesn't matter. You kind of get the idea. And then of course, add one to the other. If you've got something draw biased anyway, and then you add in head rotation. Yeah. So anyway, that's that part of the, have there anything else? And then yeah, when it comes to the Highwood 4 Plus, I think the 3 loft is right for my swing speed, but yeah, swing speed dependent. You need to make sure you can get the golf ball launching. If you can get the golf ball launching, you've got a chance of carrying well. If you can't get the golf ball launching, even with something like that, then again, either push your swing speed up, which is difficult, or at the very least we need to add some more loft. There's always a point of diminishing returns. Just by taking loft off, you do not then automatically gain. So if I get an 8-iron and go crank it to a 7-iron loft swing exactly the same, there will be a gain. If I go to a 4-iron, 3-iron, a 2-iron, if I go to a 3-iron and 2-iron, there's not automatically a same staggered gain. And that's because I'm finding that I'm running at the point of diminishing returns, that you put the same swing, the same result, and just by cranking loft, you do not see a valid, tangible carry distance increase. And so then at that point, you have to think about moving technology, going to a bigger head. I change into a 4 hybrid quite soon. I could use a 4 iron. My 45-degree angle that I like seeing coming to green is very particular, but it's something that I like to have control on even in summertime greens. And so I move into a hybrid even at 5-iron, and just because the 4 hybrid will just hit it higher and it will just be able to stop so much quicker than that I can from a 4 iron. So the 4 hybrid wins all day long, but then no different. I'm looking for a 3 wood to go in with some control, and so I do not set my 3 wood, I do not set it up to be a bomber. I could do if I want to. The first thing I do with a 3 wood, generally speaking, is whack it up as much loft as I can physically muster. But there you go. And so there's Jonathan's answer to the question. You can understand now why, with the complexity of the answer that I wanted to give, there was no chance of me writing that one down on email. Perry says, what is the relation with spin rate and dynamic launch and angle attack? My confusion is some lowering driver loft to reduce spin. What is the relation with spin rate, dynamic launch and angle attack? My confusion is some lowering driver loft to reduce spin. Right, okay. So, the issue you've got when it comes to fitting, this is where you find most of it in fittings, is because when people have a too high spin rate for, say, a driver and trying to maximize distance, etc., but their launch is fine, then you've got a problem, because you can't just lower the loft. As soon as you lower loft, you lower and you keep everything else the same. You don't change your angle attack or anything else like that. So to try and get everything in layman's terms, you have something what they call spin loft. To nick a TrackMan terminology, spin loft is the relationship between the loft of a golf club, whatever loft you're going to have, let's say 30 degrees. You're hitting a traditionally lofted 7-iron around about 30 degrees of delivered loft. So, and you're hitting down 4 degrees. Let's just say that, nice and easy, yep. So you're hitting down 4 degrees, you've got 30 degrees delivered. You have a 34-degree spin loft. So no different if you had 30 degrees and then you're hitting up at 4 degrees. That'd be an interesting shot. If you could, you'd then have it the other way around, so it'd be 26 degrees. And they would, like for like, same loft, but different angle attacks, would deliver a different amount of spin. Yeah? No different if you imagine sort of playing tennis where you hit the same angle of, say, the racket, and it goes like this, or goes like that. You have completely different spins apart to the shot. Now, of course, obviously golf balls are designed to spin back a lot. Of course, the urethane cuffed golf balls spin more, etc., but you normally only see that really in higher lofted irons and wedges. But that is spin loft. That is the difference between your angle attack and your dynamic loft. So the problem you're going to have, if let's just say you've got someone who launches it well but spins it too high, that's a problem, because you cannot just lower the loft. If you lower the loft, you are going to reduce the spin. You reduce their spin loft because you're reducing the dynamic loft, but you then launch the golf ball too low, and then that is a recipe for hitting the ground too early anyway, and then completely losing yardage, not anything else. Remember, obviously, spin rate on a driver, considering most golfers aren't that accurate with driver, having a bit too much spin on the golf ball will always keep you straighter. Have that in the back of your head. So what you could do, you could go to a low spin head. Amateur golfers, generally speaking, I wouldn't do that, because lower spin heads are generally less forgiving, and forgiveness is something that most golfers need in spades, and so that adding or keeping as much loft on the golf club with the most help center of gravity fell back as possible is going to be more beneficial on average to the average golfer. So you have to then look at the golfer themselves. If they are getting to a point of where they are spinning it way too much and delivering decent launch, but they're just spinning it too because their angle attack's say too far down. If you try and fit someone for a driver head, for example, when they are hitting down at the golf ball but delivering a certain amount of loft and then launching it okay, but then spinning up way too much, you shouldn't fit them. There is no person, no fitter on the planet that should fit that golfer. It should be straight away honest conversation with a client and say, look, we can do this if you want to, although it is golfing suicide because every part of your dynamic suggests that it's not the arrow, it's definitely the Indian, and we need to fix the Indian because all I'm going to be doing is trying to eke out as best as I can, and possibly because having to go down low spin heads, etc., is actually going to cost you in dispersion left to right, which is arguably more important. And so I would look at the person. I would look at trying to change their angle attack. As soon as you change their angle attack and they start getting a much more favorable launch window, the requirement for their head changes automatically straight away. So if they go through the expensive £500 process of buying a driver head and shaft, which any fitter will kind of go, well, that's the best I can do considering your delivery dynamics. I don't like that. I'd rather say, look, no, let's fix you first, and then if you're going to spend 500 quid, let's spend 500 quid something that you're going to use for the next 10, 15, 20 years potentially, rather than potentially buying something which is £500 and then in 6 months when it still doesn't work, you getting convinced finally that you need to have some lessons, change your swing to something which is much more positive, much more beneficial to you, delivering distance, say no change in speed whatsoever, but because your dynamics are so much better, you've got the potential now to hit the golf ball so much longer, but now you've got a driver head which is set up completely for the wrong type of swing. And so that £500 driver, you're going to have to sell on eBay or something and get something that now fits properly for a swing that works properly. And that's my issue with that one. If I'm decreasing loft on my driver from 9.5 to 7.5, which direction will this promote? More left or more right? I can't remember. So so it's slightly different for the double cog, the dual cog shaft adapters. Or if you use something which I quite like using, which is the offset camber loft sleeve, which is like your Pings, your Mizunos, etc. Then the great thing with that is the fact that as you reduce loft, it opens the face, and as you increase loft, it closes the face slightly. And you also got lie angle changes and stuff like that. So the great thing by doing that is that if you've got an individual that not only wants to drive a fitting, but also wants to tweak or fine tune their trajectory, their flight, you can do. It's brilliant. It's really, really good. Yes, okay, Mizuno STZ 230, STZ 230, and so that means if you reduce it from 9.5 to 7.5, well, actually it will be 7.25, I think, or 7.125, something, 7.5. You'll get, the confusion came from watching something Piers and Andy did with a student, or Perry, yeah, give more information on that one. I'm interested now. Mizuno STZ 230 has the, or Z230 has the offset camber loft sleeve. So if you drop it down, we'll open the face slightly. So depending if that's good or bad, I don't know. Piers and Andy normally are pretty good. They've got a decent understanding, technical understanding of things, so I don't understand anything that they say would confuse that from that side. What's the relation with spin rate and dynamic launch and angle attack? I don't see how they could get that one wrong, because that's like 101 stuff. That's like simple. YTD. And so, shall we go for a bit of fun? Again, haven't got the wonderful graphics on there. I'm just trying to think. I'm thinking in the back of my head now, why is that server not working? There's nothing in the way of network cables haven't changed or anything else. I don't know, doesn't matter. From stats to strokes, let's just do that one. I'm just working away if I can in some way get some form of graphic on the screen. Don't think I will be, so you just have to bear with me on this one. So if you've got a pad and pen, so we're going to be doing driver. Perry says mid-90s swing speed, hitting down and slice miss hit. Lovely. Got him hitting up and lower loft to 10. Yeah. So, I'd love to have seen, so he would be launching it potentially, my driving's the best it's been over 40 years. It's got to be the golf club. No, it's you with the right golf club. Having the confidence with it, etc. So, right, Perry, commonly what you'll find is he's got a slice miss hit. This gentleman here has a slice miss hit, which means slice means effectively face open to a path. When you've got face open to a path, most time people do it with poor wrist conditions. So they do it with too much extension, etc., in their wrist impact, etc., have too much pronation, supination, never can remember which one it is. Anyway, open face like that. And so which encourages an open face, yes, open face to path, but also increasing his loft, his dynamic loft. His peak height with driver was under 100 yards. Was that the initial one or after the swing change? And so you can launch the golf ball even too high with that, because obviously you're hitting down, let's say, with the face open to a path, compromising loft, hitting the golf ball, slicey, high loft, wafty shots. That's the classic thing that you see. And I used to love them when people used to go in for a fitting and they were mid-90 swing speed, 100 mile an hour swing speed, doesn't matter. From memory, think it was both. Okay, so the changes didn't change the peak height, which we'll go into in a sec. But I used to love them. When people used to come in for a custom fitting and I used to see their swing speed at whatever it was and them hitting down with the face open to a path, losing everything off the right hand side, and they say, I've done this for the last 30 years. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, oh man, we are going to change you today. You are going to be coming out of this session, not only with a smiley face, the fact that you've now got a new driver to play with, but not only that, the fact that we've now changed your swing dynamics. So if you have a poorly fit golf club with a really bad swing, you keep the really bad swing and put a really good golf club in their hands, properly fit as best you can do for a really poor swing, you can gain them 20 yards. Yeah, 20 yards is for a slower swing speed, like 90 or so miles an hour head speed with a driver. Well, that's possibly 2 golf clubs, 10 yards between each golf club. And so if you ask someone, do you want to go into a green with your 6 iron or do you want to go into a green with their 8 iron? I can guarantee you this, they're going to be asking for that change. However, that's just like a sticking plaster, effectively. It's just trying to put something over the wound, where effectively what you want to try and do is if you can not only obviously custom fit for a golf club, but actually get them swinging straighter, the win that they have in distance is not 20 yards. It can be 50. Like, you do it, you can even get to a point of where, this is the great thing about being honest and having a moral compass when it comes to fittings, is that I've done a fitting session, it's taken a bit longer anyway, but obviously doing all this information, but they've got fit for a golfer, gain 20 yards. You then go with their own golf club, change their swing, they gain 50 with their own golf club, their original golf club, and you're going to be gaining 20 yards with a brand new adjustable set exactly how they need to for a rubbish swing, or you gain 50 with their own original golf club by teaching them how to swing properly. And yes, there's a net gain of 30 yards, and of course there's going to be a certain amount of gain you're going to continue getting from going to a brand new golf club, but it's not 20 yards, because we are now talking about the difference between the old 20 yards was with a driver which clearly doesn't fit, the original driver doesn't fit, because obviously those drivers are not designed to be used at really all these angles. So you get a golf club designed to do that as best you can do, quite aggressive in its setup, and it gains them 20 yards. You change their golf swing with their golf club and they gain 50, they don't spend any money well, they spend the money obviously for a session with me, but yes, they don't spend any money from the point of view of spending 500 quid on a driver. Yet their current driver is now giving them 50 extra yards where a brand new driver is only giving them 20. So this is exactly what that is. I used to love people like that. And of course, you get them changed, no different to what I was saying, hitting them up and producing different lofts, etc. Then you can actually go down on the head, which then will reduce the spin, keep the peak heights the same. But their wins on driver distance is going to be mental. And also the dispersion patterns will change massively. There you go. Did everyone follow that? Or has everyone fell asleep? So do you understand now why sometimes I have to be careful about when I'm doing videos, or even if I'm doing live streams for, let's say next week's going to be the Open All Access one, that golf is quite techy and it can lose people very, very quickly. I mean, obviously this is not exactly what you call entertaining. Me explaining this is educational, but it's not entertaining. So people, if they were to stumble across this, they were like, do you want to hit a golf ball? Right, so let's have a little chat about from stats to strokes. The next question, it's going to be done on driver distance and the importance of driver distance. You've heard lots of times, now we know another reason why you are not making as much money as you could. No, now we are. Oh, well, yeah, that's true. If I went back coaching custom fitting full time, I'd make a darn sight more money than I do currently. So we've had that conversation before, unfortunately, but I'll do it the right way. So distance, driver distance in your handicaps, and how important is it? So the question is going to be around this, and it's going to be somewhat like this. So I've got the driver distances, the R-cost information, guys, to give everyone an understanding of this is where it comes from, so it gives you an opportunity to go and out there. Yep, so R-cost data, 900 million shots, I don't know, I can't remember now. Do you need to sell the expensive driver before changing the guy's swing? Do you need to sell the expensive driver before changing? Now, I love because I obviously never made any commission from any sales. If I saw straight away that I could save someone £500 and gain them 50 yards, sod that, I did that straight away. That's the great thing about not having any commission-based sales or anything else like that. All my jobs have ever been has all been focused on the golfer only, and nothing to do with profit margins, and that's the best bit. Great thing about obviously being self-employed and having that agreement, obviously it's a little bit, self-employed sometimes can be good and bad. Obviously if you have a holiday, you don't get paid. So anyone who's self-employed who watches this knows exactly anyway. So yeah. Adrian says, my left-right driver dispersion is 70 yards overall. Is that terrible? We're at a 15 handicap. It depends on the distance involved, mate. So if you look at the PGA Tour guys, on average, their dispersion is 60 yards on average. But as you can imagine, they're driving it further. Their average distance, say 300 yards, they're 30 yards left and 30 yards right, so that's a 10%. So people might think, 10%, that's massive. It is, but it's the dispersion wedge. As soon as you hit anything a degree or whatever degrees offline, if you go from a straight line, which is 0, 100, 200, 300, and you're a degree or so offline, down here you can't be anything else. But the further you go, the bigger the wedge becomes, and then you start going. Average drive is 284. Okay, so hey mate, if your average drive is 284, which is a really good number, like a properly good number, then 70 yards is not bad. For a 15 handicap, it's not bad. It is 35 yards left and right that will get you in trouble, definitely will do. So the whole idea on that one, knowing what your dispersion pattern is, depending on what golf course you play, is that I would absolutely use driver on the holes where you understand that your pattern won't get you potentially in trouble. And that's knowing patterns of what's your normal shot shape where your miss pattern is. Was it left? Is it right? Is it both? But yeah. So I've got the distances for all the handicaps, and it's going to be put into percentiles. What I mean by percentiles would be driving distance for a 10 handicap. I can absolutely say without any shadow of doubt that you give any number, 1 million, right? 1 million yards would be definitely the 100th percentile, as in 100% of people hit it shorter than 1 million yards or whatever. So I've got the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 percentile distances. And so what is the 20th percentile? So again, do it in this, you can do it in the chat, absolutely fine. Obviously we can chat amongst ourselves, have a little bit of fun. When it comes to the proper video release, whenever that will happen, as long as I can get my server working, because I've forgotten the graphics if not. What is the 20th percentile distance in yards for a scratch handicap golfer? That's what it's going to be. So 20th percentile would be 20% of people hit the golf ball like that. You kind of get the idea. Then yeah, I won't bore you anymore. What is the 90th percentile distance in yards for a 20 handicap golfer? So what I'm trying to basically showcase here, he is a long driver, definitely. He is. For a 15 handicap, he's a big dog. He's me. I mean, effectively 284 is not far off what I do. I'm 300 and a bit more and a bit less depending on obviously wind into, wind on like that. But I mean, that's good. Right? That's good. Rain expected in an hour. Thanks for that phone update. So what is the 20th percentile distance in yards for a driver, obviously, for a scratch handicap, 0 handicap golfer? And what is the 90th percentile distance in yards for a 20 handicap golfer? And to give you an idea, remember when I was saying about the percentile distances, let's just say a 30 handicap golfer, the 50th percentile is 200 yards. Let's just put a number out there, it doesn't matter. That would mean that 50% of golfers hit the golf ball further than 200 yards, and 50% of golfers at 30 handicap hit it less than 200 yards. That's the whole idea. That is why golf is frustrating at the moment. I can absolutely, yes, I would agree. If you're hitting the golf ball that long and still at 15, I'd be wanting to know your stats, fella, because I'd be, if that was you were honestly hitting 284 on average, playing a standard normal golf course, nothing championship, nothing massive, is not 7,000 yards. If it was a 6,500 yard golf course, I'm now plus shots gained on driving and approach, and minus on putting and chipping. Yep. That's the great thing with this, things like shot scope, and no different to Arcos and stuff like that, is that the information you can gain absolutely will direct you in the right way when it comes to what you need to practice. And when you look at the majority of golfers, regardless of the handicap, lower handicaps, the lower you go, the more understanding and they live in the real world more. But generally speaking, especially in the high handicaps and mid handicaps, because they don't know how they actually perform in their different facets of the game, they always want to get driver out. By far, driver distance is massively important, like massively important. Adrian, I can guarantee you would not be 15 if you drove it 2, 3, 4. You took 50 yards off of you and your handicap will not be 15. So that extra 50 makes a huge difference. I'm guessing 280 for a 20% on the scratch, and 220 for the 90% handicap, if I've understood correctly. So you're saying then that 20% of golfers at scratch hit it shorter than 280, And 90% of golfers at 20 handicap hit it shorter than 220. So by me basically repeating your answer with a little bit of added info, does that change your answer? I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, I'm just saying, is everybody are they helped by me doing that? Shoulder aches. Although paracetamol and ibuprofen works quite well. To be fair, the 284 is largely in the USA on harder fairways than we get here. Well, doesn't matter where you play. Doesn't matter where you play. So they do, generally speaking, slightly have longer golf courses in America because of that fact. Obviously, the distances are slightly longer because of the conditions of the fairways, and also the fact that the air is a little bit more favourable when it comes to trying to get some distance. DC, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, DC. I need to find out where that is. I need to move it down a little bit. Where is it? Oh, no, oh, hang, whoa, chat overlay. No, it's not that one. I need to find out alerts. Need to find it. Alert box. We'll put that there. Hopefully it might move down a little bit. We'll see. Doesn't matter. Right. Does that help though when it comes to me explaining that, Perry? I obviously misunderstood. I'm having those figures as longest distances. Yes, so the percentile means, let's just say you pick a number, let's say 30%, and what the 30th percentile would be that if you said 220, for example, that would be 30% of golfers hit it shorter than 220. Yeah, I know, Niels, it can do. The percentile thing can be confusing. It's not as if you think about it is, as long as you're thinking from the same thing, as in shorter than. So whatever number you hit or go for, 60th percentile, which means even if for kids, you know, when they do their height charts and stuff like that, you're looking at one kid is 1 meter tall and they're at the 60th percentile, which means effectively if you were to have 100 kids in a line and you'd have them in like that, they'd be at the 60th, which means again they'll be 60th up the way up the, you know, up the chain, because the rest of them will be shorter and then the rest of them will be longer, but you kind of get it. As long as you work from one way, you're never going to go too far wrong. I mean, that's what the graphic, that's what I'll probably do when I actually can get my server working for the video, just so it adds even more clarity. But effectively, yeah, that's that. So yeah, can't think of anything else. It is raining. I can hear it raining. It must be coming down properly then. So again, Pete says 284 beats my 210 average, 64 off 15, that's good. 64, mate, honestly, that's good. My school closed down in my final year is my excuse. It's a bit harsh, isn't it? But yeah, so when you run percentile, it means effectively anything under that. So the kid's height idea is a perfect example of. Let's see, can I get see if I can get it on here. I want something like really quite simple, like when you get 100 people and you can see like oh, would that work? Let's have a little look. Would that work? Oh, we're talking about baby percentile. It's not necessary. Oh, will you go away? I only want to have a look at something. For the love of all that's holy. No. So I'll try and find something for the video, and then we can work out what that means. Just a lot easier for people to understand. I mean, I'm looking at lots of percentile things, and I understand what they mean, but again, unfortunately, some people get confused about certain things. So there you go. But that's the easiest way to work it out, is the fact that if you had 100 people, all in a line, different heights, tallest being up here and the shortest being on here, and then you had the 60th percentile, you'd say that obviously they are on the 60th because 59 others are shorter than them, and obviously you've got 39 going that way, which are taller. And that's the thing, obviously they could actually be, they're not going to be, it may not even be a linear curve. I mean, it might do this, but as long as it's going up, yeah. So that's going to be a two parts. What is the 20th percentile distance in yards for a zero handicap? So that effectively means for a scratch handicap, when it comes to the distance, 20% of golfers hit it this distance, the rest are shorter. Remember, the long line of people. And then when it comes to the 90th percentile for the 20 handicap golfer. So if you said, let's pick on Bob. Bob is now the zero handicap golfer. Let's put him, Bob's doing well. And he hits the golf ball 250 yards. Let's call it 250 yards. And that could be, let's say, that's the world of imagination. So let's say the Bob at 250 yards is the shortest hitter of all of his zero handicap peer group, because obviously all zero handicap golfers hit it 350. So he would be in the first percentile. If you then got 100 more zero handicap people, and Bob, he found himself position 10, as in the case of 9 hit it shorter, and then all the rest of them hit it longer, because they all hit 350. He would be in the 10th percentile. And if Bob, with his 250 yards, was actually in the middle, so there was half as many which hit it longer and shorter, he would be 50th percentile. If Bob at 250 yards, only 10 or 9, 10 hit it longer than him, he would be at the 90th percentile. You kind of get the idea. So that's 20th percentile for the zero handicap and the 90th percentile for the 20 handicap. That's what we'll do. And it'll be an interesting one, because this information, I have made it fairly easy to find. Fairly. Excuse me, YouTube mini pops. So it's not too difficult. We are now at, what are we, episode? I can't tell. Because everything is still offline. An error connecting to, yeah. It's not good. 270 from the 20th percentile scratch golfer is my guess. 285 is the average approx. So for question 1, as such, part 1, 270 for the 20. So this again, I'll do the same thing with you, mate, as I did with Perry. I will say you believe that there are effectively 20% are shorter than that. 80% of scratch handicappers are longer than 270. Yeah. 285 is the average approx. So Adrian thinks that 20% of golfers are 270 or shorter. I think 20% hit it further than 270. Other way, yeah, so you're gonna have to work out the other way. Remember, you've got a sliding scale. Short. Short, long. This is Bob. That's Bob. He's a 0 handicapper and he hits it 250 yards. He's the shortest among his group. And you've got here Brian. He's the longest. He hits it 500. But yeah. So this is the difference between average and stuff like that. No, what we're going to be doing is, in effect, what you'll get is ones that go up and they'll kind of go like that. But effectively, if you were to say that you might get loads of 251s, 260s, and there might be a big jump, say from 500 to 400, you could have a 98th percentile at 400, and then obviously only 2 people hit it longer than 400 yards. Yeah, it's an imaginary scale. So the 20th percentile is that people hit it the shortest to longest. So that means 20, if there's zeros there and 100s there, you're talking 20 is like there, and whatever that distance there is, if that makes sense. No, Brian is 99 percentile. I'm wagering this longer. Oh, he is. Time to sort Mini Ninja out. I'll sort my brain fog out at the same time. I think I may going to have to do that kind of chart. Well, kind of, yeah. Yes, but Brian can putt. He can. I'll be honest, a lot of time, if he's hitting 500, a lot of time he's going over the green anyway. His wedge game's going to have to be really good. Wow, but there you go. So that's how percentile works. And I might even have to get the pad out because it can be a little bit confusing. So 20th percentile is the 20% of golfers hit it that distance or shorter. But it's the 20th number. So 19 would be shorter than that, 18 would be shorter than that, 15 would be even shorter than that, 10% would be shorter than that. So the 20th percentile is a number, but effectively 20th percentile means they hit it that far or shorter. 70th percentile would mean they hit it that far or shorter. There you go. So that's the whole idea. We've got 20th percentile for a 0 handicap scratcher, and what's the 90th percentile for a 20 handicap golfer. The 90th percentile is really going to be interesting. So obviously 90th percentile is that they're going to be the top end. They are going to be the top end of 90 of the 20 handicap golfers. So only 10% of golfers in the 20 handicap realm will hit it further than the 90th percentile. So a very, very small amount. The vast majority of this number will hit it that distance or shorter, where when you're looking at the 0 handicap, the 20th percentile, you're looking at only 20% of 0 handicappers hit it shorter than that distance, where 80% will hit it longer. Make sense? 100%. Right. Oh, how long is this? This weather this week has just been mental. When is this rain going to finish? Let's have a quick look, shall we? Oh, it should finish relatively soon. Should we do a little here it comes. See, here it comes. That's where it is now, but it's actually raining. That's where I am in the world. There you go. Well, in the UK at least. Oh, Adrian, thank you so much. £5 for the great driver reviews, Mizuno driver reviews. Ah, everyone give that a like. Adrian is a very, very kind individual. Thank you very much, Adrian. It always warms my cockles when people do that. Really does. The news said yesterday, worst spring in the UK for 200 years. Wow. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, if anyone goes on about hosepipe ban, yeah. Well, saying that, I mean, I've been dodging the weather for quite a while because obviously converting the garage or one side of the garage to the wife's gym, I did actually have a broken tile. I had a weird one. This has obviously happened way before the wife and I bought the house, but something had gone through the roof, as in there was a hole about like that, okay, that big. I may not, unless you know how big my hands are, but you know me, about that big, through a tile and through the felt. And it's always been that. But it was fairly high up on the roof, so within, I think, 3 tiles or so of the top of the ridge. And so hardly any water ever got in. I mean, you have to really deluge in for actually to lay on the concrete floor of the garage, but it's on the gym side. So I had to fix it. So I've been fixing that kind of idea. So I just replaced the tile and then shoved some DPM between the felt and stuff. Yeah, anyway. But it's just been coming down like this, and then sunny, and then torrential rain, and then sunny again. It's like, make your mind up, because it's really difficult to do something, especially digging trenches and stuff to run cables through the ground for networking and all that lot. When your trench is filling up with water. I know, daft. But there you go, thank you very much for that, Adrian. Really does appreciate that one. Right, I had some really good questions earlier on about dynamic loft and bits and pieces like that. Anyone else got any more like that? And I'm absolutely happy to go into as much detail because I like them ones. I've always wanted. You should get some ibuprofen based gel to put on your shoulder and probably eat 400 milligrams times 3 as well to ease your shoulder pain. It will also treat the injury and let you relax. Oh, always relaxed me. I don't get stressed about anything. But yeah, I think you are right when it comes to need something, but because I need to start swinging. I've got so much work content wise that I want to do, but I haven't. I had intentions. I've been able to see since the projector's been away. I've been able to go to the golf course and just do some bits and pieces there. Yeah, 3 times per day. Well, not just 3 times a day. But no. So, but because of the fact that my shoulder's not. It's just been, yeah, not 1.2 grams. Yeah. I don't know, what is the standard, I don't know, are they 200 milligram tablets? I can't remember now. There you go. But yeah, so I had obviously go over to the golf course and just do some on-course stuff for a bit of fun, just do some different things. But my body has not been happy. It has not been happy, and it's really frustrating. It's really a pain in the backside. This goes back onto, again, you know, when you're self-employed. Excuse me, when you're self-employed, you effectively are in control of your own earnings to a certain extent. Well, when in YouTube you're not, but I can guarantee you when you're not doing content because you can't swing, because you're injured or anything else like that, you are not earning money at all. And this is the thing, so I need to get more content out there, but I also need to think distinctly, I've got to make sure it's fixed. I can't afford effectively to go into it too soon. If I go into it like even one day early and then hurt it again when I'm filming or data set collecting, obviously that will put me out for another week or however long. And so sometimes you should give it another day or two after it. So once this feels better, it's not, I mean, obviously if I'm feeling like that now, it's fine. It's uncomfortable, I'll say that. But obviously I'm going back quicker. Obviously everything's happening really quick. Yeah. So even doing that, going around there, that hurts a bit. But yeah, we'll see. We'll get there. We will get there. And then we can get some more content out. I want to do, was it the the Mizuno Pro 243 against the Cobra Tour. I want to do that because the Cobra Tour on balance is possibly my favourite iron amongst the entire range. I really like the Cobra Dark Speed, and I'm trying to get hold of the 3D printed Cobras. I have already had agreement from Cobra that I'm going to get the 3D printed stuff. It's just because there are so little of them. They went out to a very small amount of influencers in their own, media partners, but obviously nowhere near as many samples to be able to give to all their media partners. So not everyone got them, only a certain few got them because they're so relatively rare when it comes to a media sample. I don't believe Cobra think they're going to be a massive seller, so hence why they are relatively low on the media samples. But I will be getting hold of them at one point, which will be fun and interesting. I really want to test out that driver. I also want to test out that sub 70 659 John Daly. Now, that's interesting. Why has that got no signal? I think that should have signal. Interesting. Oh, okay. It's back again. Oh, you can't see it. I was kind of hoping that you'd be able to see the sub 70 bag and stuff like that, but you can't, which is a bit of a pain in the backside. No. Oh well, not to worry. Neil says they are definitely expensive, but could potentially the start of a new way of custom fitting. Yes, and I don't know too much about it, but if you've got when it comes to forging, etc., and then like the milling of the faces and stuff like that, you then potentially compromise the design of it and or the head at least, because Mizuno then infill effectively. They mill, let's say the 243 with a micro slop, they're milling the back of the face. Now where they used to do it, I'll tell you what. Oh, what, should I do it with a Mizuno? Yes, do it with a Mizuno. I'll tell you what, let's do it with the 243 because we're picking on the 243. So that one, no different to that of the Forge, 923 Forge, soon to be 925 Forge. I'm going to get more information on the 925 range shortly, and I will keep everyone apprised as soon as I find the information out. And so they used to, years ago, go through the back. So they used to go through, obviously that was hollowed out, and there's no badge there, and they've got access to the back, and they've got the tool that can go in there. But because obviously that is not parallel to that face, yeah, they're gonna have to go in at a slight angle, yeah, then come out, and then go in a bit deeper, then come out and go a bit deeper. So you get this kind of staggered stepped approach because they can't go parallel to the face, they have to go at a slight angle like this. Now with these, obviously the micro slot is underneath here, but they mill through that at this angle, right down the face, so they can actually get a really clean multiple variable face thickness on the club face, and obviously infill afterwards. But that potentially does, I wouldn't say it compromises the structural integrity of the head or anything else like that, but it potentially could do if you're obviously having to infill afterwards. But obviously with 3D printed, the world is your oyster when it comes to what you can potentially even think about putting CG placements and weights in certain areas and stuff. You could get printed irons that are individual, so if you are heel bias on short and toe on long, you could have irons with your individual CG location and lofts that are given for, I mean, Niels, it goes crazy. Where do you, shouldn't do that, where do you stop? Where do you stop? It's a completely different level. I think it would be interesting if you could do a 3D printed driver. Now, I don't know. I mean, it would be, what is the material? What is the material that they've used for the 3D print? I haven't, I know, I think Alex Elliott, I think he got some. Finchy got some as well, I think. But I don't know who else. I know Alex has done something. Finchy hasn't yet. I think he's got plans to do it, but yeah. But I don't know anything about it. I haven't had a chance to look at anything else. I just obviously, I knew they would come in. It was just a case of, I knew that I wasn't being able to get any because of the like ridiculously small amount of media samples. So it will be interesting to see. And that's the great thing of it. Obviously, potentially you've got, the world is your oyster when it comes to that. It really is. Yeah, I mean, you could have custom tungsten placements in the vertical point of view to, from what Neil was saying when it comes to heel and toe, you could obviously high and low and stuff like that. Is that $3,000 US? Can you, Pete? I don't know. I must admit, I am very ignorant when it comes to the 3D printing world, and I don't really know that much about, I mean, I know plastic of some form of polymer molds, etc., and creations that you can make, obviously, but can they make it? Is metal 3D printable? I ain't got a clue. I don't know. Possibly is. Would have thought so by now. But if you can do that, wow. But yes, I don't know how it would work and how it would feel. Because obviously forging against, because effectively it would be some form of cast. Not quite the same, but effectively yes. What is the structural integrity of it? How long is it durable? Will it last? Will they break? It's a really interesting concept. Really, really is. Now, next week, we have got an open all access, so we'll be open to literally everybody. I will probably be doing some promo to get people in the mood. So that'll be next week. Hopefully next week. By next week, my shoulder will be better and I'll start making content again and stuff like that. It's just really frustrating at the moment that my body is the failing thing. It was fine. Whilst the projector was not here, it was fine. I could apparently printed from the toe inwards. I really, I mean, I find it interesting. Just Cobra 3D printed putters. Limit 3D, the first 3D printed iron. Sign up to be notified when these zones are available. 500 sets available worldwide. 3D printed putter. Is that just the insert or around the outsides as well? All 3D, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm a great fan of anything which has the potential to push boundaries. Really do. I love the concept of anything else like that. I love the idea that people are thinking outside the box. People are looking into, have we got any information about it though? There doesn't seem to be much Available 7th of June. There you go. I'll keep my eye out for them anyway. Right guys, so unless anyone else has got anything else they'd like to ask, talk about, I'm going to go and have some ibuprofen 3 times by 3, 9 tablets a day. No. I'll try and work on this shoulder a little bit. But it's fine. It's fine to do 90% of stuff. It's just obviously things like golf where, especially the left arm, I'm going to be putting this across my chest. Yeah, I don't want to. It still hurts. Obviously, I've got driver as well to test as well. I've got 11 driver to test, so my shoulder needs to be on it. Metal can be 3D printed, it needs heat treating to temper. Basically, an eyepiece is laid down layer by layer, microns following a 3D design from software can even mix materials. It's mental. I'll have a little look. I want to have a look at this and I want to see how they are and if they're worth the money. I mean, it could literally just be 3,000 US dollars. They're going to be around about 2.5 grand English money, give or take. Probably could be even £3,000 English money. But it's going to be one of those ones where it is going to be the limited edition side of things more than anything else that's going to be. I mean, the fact that, if you look at my set of MP20 copperheads, well, they're worth X amount of money, like more money than the MP20 blades, the ones with shiny stuff next attached to it, and they should be cheaper on the basis that they've finished halfway through the process. Yet they've called them limited edition, so of course everything in limited edition is going to be more expensive anyway. But this is properly different, 3D printed. Will be interesting to see. Right, so I'm going to go try and find some information on Mizuno going forward when it comes to the JPX 925. I know everyone loves information on the JPX stuff. Neil says, think they use metal powder and laser rather than molten metal like the plastic 3D prints, so still molten but differently. Will be interesting. I'll be really interested to see how they feel, how they work. It's a completely different process. No one, I don't think, has ever made a 3D printed iron before, so we don't necessarily know how it will work. And I'll refrain from watching anyone else or anyone else's review or comments on them, because I don't want to be swayed in any way by what someone said. If I hear something, I think, I'll make sure I think about that. That's already given me some form of either positive or negative concept in my head about what something's good or bad, may work, won't work. That's why I tend not to look at anything that anyone does. I listen to what they say in the marketing, but I've been around for years enough now to know that when it comes to having a conversation with the manufacturer about the marketing of their own golf club, they're just basically trying to blow smoke up its own backside. So I ignore. I stand there like that. Whatever. If that technology gets just a bit more mature, I think we'll get a whole new category of irons. I think, yes. It's a really, really interesting realm, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses as time goes on, because it's a really I think the cost is an issue, and I think it absolutely needs to mature a lot, because £3,000 or $3,000, excuse me, £2,500, whatever the number is, it's still too much money for a set of irons. I can remember we said £2,500 would get you an entire golf bag, drivers, fairway woods, irons, wedges, putters, the lot. And now we're looking at that just for a set of irons. It's mental. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Right, guys. So unless anyone else has got anything else to say, I will wrap it up now. It's time now, 9:25, getting on for 9:20. Next week will be open all access, so it will be crazy. Many more people will be around, so I'll be on my best behaviour also. I've got to be careful what I say and what I don't say for next week. Excellent live show. Hello Min, hope you're well. Many thanks for a brilliant explanation to email Q&As, which gave me more understanding of club dynamics. Happy to do so, guys. If you want to send me an email or anything else like that, if you've got any technical questions that you'd like me to answer, and you don't mind me putting them up on the screen for obviously all to see so I can properly explain it, etc., I'm more than happy to help the members out in any way I can. Pete says slow process, not for mass production. It's called material additive tech, whereas milling is material removed tech. Yeah, removing tech. Adrian says, laters guys, have a good week. Neil says, not that far off. Muras though, and probably less expensive than the exotic Japanese specialty irons. That is possibly true. Right guys, it's been wonderful as always. Thank you very, very much for watching. And also Adrian, thank you very, very much for your kind donation. It's always welcome and very, very kindly received. So thank you for that. Right everyone, hope you have a wonderful week and we'll see everybody very soon.